The story unfolds in Bangkok, Thailand. Gina, a blind woman, navigates her life independently. She finds joy in her marriage. However, her husband James often criticizes her smoking habit. This morning, Gina received a supportive call from her sister, wishing her luck for the day ahead. Gina admitted that she has been reflecting on their parents a lot lately, as they were the last faces she remembers. While riding the metro, she listens intently to the sounds around her, just as she does when walking outside. For Gina, the vibrant colors of the world have long faded away. Upon arriving at the clinic, both Gina and James felt a wave of anxiety. Dr. Hughes performed an examination. In the cramped space, Gina felt overwhelmed and asked James to take her out. He held her hand, offering reassurance. They knew they had to face this challenge together. The doctor informed them that corneal transplantation and iris reconstruction of her right eye, along with implantation, were viable options. Unfortunately, the optic nerve was severely damaged, meaning she would only regain sight in one eye. Hearing this news brought joy to both Gina and James, as they had been anticipating this moment for a long time. However, they learned there was a lengthy waiting list for the procedure, so they would need to be patient. In the meantime, Gina's daily life continues as usual. She has always dreamed of becoming a mother. Despite her blindness, she plays the guitar and teaches others. In the evenings, she dedicates time to learning the Thai language, striving for greater independence. Yet, James takes pleasure in caring for her. Both of them share the desire to have a child and build a complete family. When Gina asked James if he ever found caring for her exhausting, he replied that what mattered most was that she needed him. While at the pool, an acquaintance named Daniel approached Gina to say hello. Later, her best friend Karen mentioned that Daniel is quite attractive. As long as Gina remains blind, she is unable to truly appreciate her surroundings. Gina's pupil was in tears because her mother planned to euthanize their dog. The reason behind this decision was that the girl's mother is expecting a baby and feels overwhelmed at the thought of managing both a newborn and a pet. Moved by compassion, Gina decided to take the dog in. Noticing his wife's distress, James suspected that she was struggling with the idea of not being able to conceive again. To lift Gina's spirits, James suggested they go for a walk. The couple enjoyed themselves at a lively party at the club. However, during the dancing, Gina suddenly felt disoriented and expressed her desire to leave immediately. James accompanied her to the restroom. Once Gina finished and stepped out, she realized that James was nowhere to be found. This realization sent her into a panic. When someone inquired about whom she was looking for, Gina found herself unable to describe her husband's appearance. Meanwhile, James observed from a distance. He told Gina he had only been momentarily distracted. Eager to leave, Gina was anxious to get out. Back at home, the dog had made a mess, which displeased James. Gina, however, chose to laugh it off. She refused to let anyone harm her beloved pet. Later that evening, Gina received a call from the clinic. Before long, she found herself on the operating table. As she was put under anesthesia, memories of the tragic accident that claimed her parents' lives flooded her mind. It was during that time that Gina lost her sight. After a while, the doctor removed the bandage from her right eye. James was by her side throughout the process. When Gina opened her eye, she saw vague shapes in front of her. Her vision had improved by 10%, marking just the beginning of her recovery. Seeing her husband for the first time brought tears of joy to Gina's eyes, and James felt the same overwhelming emotion. Their lives were about to change dramatically. Gina was making rapid progress in her recovery. Yet, she still hadn't found the courage to look at her reflection in the mirror. James reassured her, telling her that she is the most beautiful woman in the world. James doesn't match Gina's expectations, but that's perfectly fine. At night, Gina struggles to sleep, staring at her hands. Finally, she mustered the courage to face the mirror, seeing her reflection for the first time. It was an odd and profoundly unique experience. Now, Gina perceives the world around her with fresh eyes. What healthy individuals take for granted daily feels like a revelation to her. After prescribing the necessary treatment, the doctor released Gina from the hospital. For the first time since the accident, she would step outside and take in her surroundings. Gina felt a childlike excitement. James took his wife for a stroll to immerse her in even more vibrant colors. No one else but Gina notices this beauty. For her, it feels like a rebirth. Gina also saw their apartment for the first time. It wasn't what she had envisioned. As a delightful surprise, James gifted her 2 tickets to southern Spain, to the same hotel where they celebrated their honeymoon. Gina was overjoyed. It was the most thoughtful gift her husband could offer. The next day, unbeknownst to his wife, James visited the clinic for fertility tests. Soon, the couple set off on their journey. It felt like pure happiness. Now, blue has become Gina's favorite color, representing the sky. They checked into the same room from their honeymoon. In the evening, Gina told James that it felt different, as if it wasn't the same room. It's hard to articulate, but something had changed. James reassured her that it was indeed the same room. Since Gina had been blind, she had no way of knowing. From this point on, Gina embraces the opportunities her new life presents each day. She is eager to explore the world on her own, while James continues to support her lovingly. Gina no longer needs assistance to order drinks at the bar. James was clearly uncomfortable with his wife chatting with another man. Later, Gina revealed that the man's name was Ollie. He and Gina were on their honeymoon and had just checked into the same room. It turned out that James had known about this all along but chose not to inform his wife. Surprisingly, she wasn't upset with him. A few days later, the couple took a train to Barcelona to visit Gina's sister, Carla. Carla was happily married and had 2 children. James shared that he and Gina were also considering starting a family soon. That evening, as James drifted off to sleep, Carla helped her sister with her makeup. The next day, they planned to visit the tunnel where the accident had occurred. Seeing his wife dressed provocatively and with bold makeup stirred mixed emotions in James. In the past, he had preferred different styles for her. The 2 couples intended to enjoy a night of drinks and fun. Gina was eager for new experiences, which seemed to unsettle her husband. James worried that now that Gina was regaining her sight, she would attract men who were more appealing than he was. Indeed, other men began to notice Gina, as her appearance had changed. While under the influence, Gina grew upset with the inappropriate advances directed at her. Ramon, Carla's husband, ended up in a confrontation on the street. Gina was disappointed that her husband didn't defend her. Conversely, James felt humiliated by Gina's behavior in front of her sister and Ramon. The previous passion and trust between them had faded. The following day, they all returned to the same tunnel. For Gina, confronting her fear was essential. This was the only way she could release the past and move forward. The sisters embraced, feeling a sense of mutual support. Both of them needed it. Soon, Gina and James arrived back home. Gina suggested that it might be best for them to look for a new place to live. However, James was reluctant to move. He enjoyed their current home. Although he still cared for his wife, she no longer required his assistance. This change deeply troubled James. Additionally, he began to worry that Gina had lost interest in him and was seeking something different. Later, James visited a doctor and received the devastating news that he would not be able to father children. This revelation hit him hard, especially since Gina had always dreamed of having a complete family. While taking a stroll in the park, Gina ran into Daniel from the pool. He was taken aback to see that she could now see. James was genuinely pleased for her and suggested they grab a coffee together. However, Gina politely declined the offer. That evening, James prepared dinner. He was taken by surprise when he saw Gina sporting a new look. She had dyed her hair a brighter color. Gina also mentioned that she planned to check out a new house the following day. James reminded her that he would be at work during that time, but Gina didn't see that as an issue. If she liked the house, they could visit it together later. Gina offered to handle the cooking herself. Now James wouldn't have to manage all the household chores alone. During dinner, James reminded Gina about the upcoming party. He expressed a desire for her to wear something understated. Gina was not pleased with his suggestion. She directly asked James if he loved her more when she was blind. James sidestepped the question. The next day, Gina visited the new house. She found it appealing. The house was spacious enough for a family with children. Later, Gina experienced some discomfort in her eye, but chose to ignore it. James did not react positively to the news about the new house. Due to her unusual symptoms, Gina decided to consult a doctor who indicated that it appeared to be a minor rejection of the iris. Dr. Hughes recommended a higher dosage of eye drops for the patient. Gina is deeply anxious about potentially losing her progress. While on the phone with her sister, Gina expressed her worries, unaware that her husband had already swapped out the drops. As bedtime approached, Gina took her medication again, while James struggled with jealousy. His greatest fear is losing control over his wife. The doctor is baffled by the eye's rejection of the transplant, especially since the surgery had gone well. Suspecting the drops might be the issue, the doctor planned to send them for analysis to a pharmacologist. At home, Gina had a meltdown due to her rapidly worsening vision. Her husband comforted her with a hug. Naturally, their plans to attend the party were scrapped. The following day, Gina ran into Daniel at the park. When Gina's dog became overheated in the sun, Daniel suggested they head to his house where it was cooler. Fortunately, the dog was okay. Gina expressed her heartfelt gratitude to Daniel for his assistance. When he kissed her, she kissed him back. A spark ignited between them. Meanwhile, James observed the house and felt pleased. Gina returned home in tears. She felt guilty towards her husband, who had supported her through everything. James informed his wife that he had agreed to purchase the house by the river and had even negotiated a lower price. While this was good news, Gina couldn't feel genuine happiness. Her life seemed to be falling apart. Soon she received a call from Dr. Hughes, who informed her that the test results were in. The drops he prescribed were not the ones being used. Gina was taken aback by this revelation. Upon returning home, she found police officers and chaos in the apartment. Their home had been broken into. Gina quickly called her husband, asking him to come back. Her main concern was for her missing dog. She searched the park for her pet but had no luck. There, she encountered Daniel and James. She and Daniel pretended not to recognize each other, but James sensed something was off, leading to a confrontation between the couple. Later at the pool, Daniel approached Gina, but she firmly stated that nothing could develop between them. That night, Gina was awakened by the sound of her husband moving around the apartment. When she called out, James replied that he was just getting a drink. Upon his return to bed, Gina revealed to him that she was pregnant, unaware of her husband's infertility. Later, Gina attempted to call Daniel, but he didn't pick up. Tears filled her eyes as she realized Daniel was planning to leave soon. Now, she relied on a cane to help her navigate, as her vision had deteriorated significantly. James had moved them to a new house and was once again taking care of his wife, feeling a sense of control. Yet, an undercurrent of tension lingered between them, fueled by unspoken words and mutual distrust. While James was at work, Gina discovered a letter. Meanwhile, he returned to their old apartment and found a stash of prescription drops hidden on the bathroom shelf. In a hurry, James went back to the new house, where he stumbled upon a photo of their pet and a letter from a woman who had seen a man abandon the dog. The woman expressed her intention to adopt and care for the dog. On stage, Gina and her student Lucy performed a song they had written together, with James in the audience. From his wife's expression, he realized she had been pretending to regain her sight all along, which meant she had uncovered his lies. She also knew he had orchestrated the robbery of their apartment and had left the dog behind. Overwhelmed by the situation, James left and, in a moment of despair, drove recklessly down the road, possibly colliding with an oncoming truck on purpose. Months later, Gina welcomed her baby into the world, and for the first time, she felt genuine happiness as she gazed at her child.